Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Mindful LCA podcast. Today we got questions. We're answering questions. We're answering your questions, random questions about mental health, with the hopes of always helping you guys out and maybe learning something ourselves along the way. How are you doing today, Norma?
I'm tired, really tired. Yeah. Grandma hasn't been okay, so she hasn't slept. I sleep with her, or pretend to sleep with her. So I've been up since like 2 in the morning. So I'm tired. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm tired too. The fucking air quality gives me headaches, so that's what, like, my physical thing right now. But otherwise I'm good. I'm chilling. Trying to be more productive, trying to do more shit. Took like a month off pretty much in December. I said fuck it. I was very
Love it.
just going along the way. But now I'm feeling again like being productive again and putting getting to work.
Good.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get straight to it and the questions that we have here. The first one is, how can I recognize if I'm struggling with mental health?
If your sleep is bad, I'm struggling with mental health right now.
Yes.
Signs that you can look out for if like the first thing that came up was like maybe like, okay, what about maybe a depressive episode, right? So um if things that you used to enjoy you don't necessarily enjoy anymore, if you're feeling like very like restless, if you're losing or gaining weight for no reason, um and this is like a combination of things. It doesn't have to be um
Oh,
just one. um uh my mind just went blank. Cool. um if you notice that your tolerance to difficult situation gets shorter, that could also be something that's telling you that there's something off. um yeah, if you're just not being your usual self, you're like, I feel funky, but I don't know what's going on, and medically there's nothing wrong. Always check your medical first. That's always the first thing to rule out. Um, and if that is okay, um, then we look into mental health.
mhm. What came up to mind for me, well, I guess it requires some kind of knowledge just to pay attention, I guess, to your stress levels, right? Like if you're very nervous for extended periods of time, right? Because I don't think you most people or you'll be have the some people have the awareness to call it anxiety yet, but if you're very anxious or you're very nervous for, like I said, a while, doesn't seem to go away, that'd be one thing. Or also the same thing with the depression, with the sadness. If you catch yourself not being able to feel anything other than sadness most of the time, or you're very like lethargic and all that stuff, just overall, like, I think those are the two. If it's the most common with anxiety and depression, those will be the two things, right?
Hmm.
You're always jittery nervous, or if you're on the other side where you just don't feel like doing shit, and like it's like days of you feeling like, I don't want to do shit, I don't care about anything, I just want to be here in my bed and not give a fuck about anything, I think those are two
Hmm.
ways, but they require some kind of awareness of self, so yes, the other ones that you mentioned, well.
Yeah, sometimes, like I've seen with a lot of Latino patients, right? Like that we don't necessarily believe in mental health, so they attribute whatever they're going through to physical symptoms. So if you know somebody that's Latino, if you're Latino and you're like, hey, mental health is not a thing, um, but you're having some physical symptoms too, such as like a fast heart rate, sweaty, um, that you feel like out
Like
of
heat.
breath, um, What did you say?
like heat rush, right?
Yeah, heat
Stomach
rushes.
stomach pain.
Yes, if you're having stomach issues, um, that those could also be attributed to mental health, even though they are physical symptoms. Like our client, that she's like, "There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me medically. Like I just want doctors to find out what's wrong." But every time she goes into the hospital to like figure out what's wrong, doctors are like, "Your your health is fine." Um, so I think she's dealing more with anxiety, but it's really hard for her to admit that. Um, she's Mexican. She's an older Mexican lady, so she thinks there's something medically wrong, but they've constantly told her like, you know, no tiene nada. So if
Mm.
you've gone to a doctor and there is nothing wrong, then maybe look at mental health.
Yeah, that was the next question. Actually, that was a perfect segue. We did it without it
Oh,
having to do
look
it.
at me.
Next question was, how does mental health affect physical health? Right. So
100%.
like I would like to and it was funny. I didn't even had even seen this question, but this morning for some reason I thought about this. Um, because if you don't know, every reaction, emotional reaction, your brain releases some chemical for it, some kind of liquid, some hormone, some shit happens in your body. So then if, for example, if you're always angry or anxious, then you might have a lot of adrenaline or something. So then that is not good for your body to be constantly in that state, right? Like when I was having high levels of anxiety and panic attacks, I lost a shit ton of weight, even though I was just sitting in my room, because all this adrenaline, all this fucking uh things are happening in my brain that are making my body like fucking work out or stress out. It's the same thing to a physical thing, so like that's how it affects it, same thing with depression and all that stuff. So something happens to you mentally, your brain releases something that makes your body react to it, and those things affects your health, your physical health. And that's why sometimes you can just have diabetes, high blood pressure, fucking all kinds of shit, even if you take care of yourself like physically, right? If you're not taking care of yourself mentally, those things can still come without it because you're not dealing with it. And there's
Yeah.
studies, and they've been people, there's books and shit like that that talk about literally how mental health is the cause of like cancers and all every kinds of diseases and all this shit like that, because it's connected. It's one, our body and our mind are one fucking thing. So you
Mhm.
can't just take care of yourself physically, you have to take care of yourself mentally as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of people that have like GI problems, like gastrointestinal problems, could be I mean, in Spanish, I don't know what it's called in English, but in Spanish they call it colitis nerviosa. Like when estás estreñido,
Yeah.
and that happens to me. Might be TMI, but fuck it, that's what we're here to do. Sometimes I struggle with hemorrhoids, and I notice when my stress levels are up, those motherfuckers flare the fuck up. Like,
Mm.
if I have a bowel movement, if I poop and I like feel it, I'm like, what's going on? What's going on in my life right now that
Mm.
like that this is happening? So yes, yeah,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mm-hmm,
Because that's the thing that I think we sometimes forget, or like people don't realize or shit like that, that it could be like your body is the your physical sensations are the signal for your mental health, right?
mm-hmm,
Like sometimes you look for the mental aspect to show up in your body, but then your body can also be like, hey, there's something going on here, something you need to take care of. So your body can let you know there's something off here. So you can pay attention to those physical sensations that lead you into thinking about your mental health or emotional issues, anything that you're struggling with, or vice versa.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. Cool. Uh, how do environmental factors impact mental health?
I'm gonna cry.
I saw it and I was like, well, here we go.
Oh my god. I am. How do I even answer that question? For those of you who are listening, this will probably come out 3 weeks from now or something, but we are recording on the week where wildfires are happening in LA, in California. So there are like a lot of things that are happening right now. We're like at the beginning of 2025. And I don't know if you also saw, like, there are already like ice in Bakersfield and different parts of California. That's happening. We are waiting for like this Trump administration to start their mayhem, or they already fucking started. So all of those things that happen at the macro level, at the big scale, 100% affect how we live on our day to day. We as humans, we have basic human rights. Some people don't think we do. I like to think we do. We have the right to food, shelter, water. And many of us don't have that. I'm privileged enough to have all three of them, but many people don't. So if you, like, I've close people where like they're people that live paycheck to paycheck and their house burnt down in California. Their mental health is 100% going to be affected because they no longer have a home. They no longer have pertenencias, belongings. Their belongings are gone. So what happens at that level is 100% going to affect you. If you're a decent fucking human being and you see what's going on around the world, it's going to impact you 100%. How so? The same thing. As you all know, I'm a therapist. A lot of the demographic I work with is people that are woke. So last week I had a client that came in and was like, there was, the Cybertruck. We had a Cybertruck incident here in Vegas. So that happened. And then by their house, I think there was like a big car accident. And I think somebody, I'm going to be lying, making this shit up, but there were a series of events that happened close to them, where they're like afraid. They're like afraid. They're like, Norma, what's happening in the world? And I'm like, I don't know. I genuinely don't know what to say to this. And so then the thought of like death comes about, of like, I could be anywhere and I could die. So then constantly thinking about death is true. Thinking about their safety, they're about to start a new job and they're like, what about if I'm like there, right? Like right after also the New Orleans thing happened, and they're like, I could be anywhere and some shit could go down. And I'm sitting there like this is where my limitations as a therapist come in, because you're not wrong. You're absolutely wrong. How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah. I have so much to say on this, and I thought about making it an episode. So I'm gonna highlight this fucking question, and we're getting a whole episode out of this shit because, a lot of times, like you said, I don't blame you for not paying attention to this shit and how everything affects us. Because because we're so caught up in our own rent and our own car payment and our own jobs and our own shit and overwhelmed with all that stuff that a lot of times we don't have the ability to look past that and look at how everything and the whole system affects us and how we struggle, you know? So I would like to do an episode that talks about specifically how all of this is fucking us up, and there's a whole system responsible for it. But I think it deserves an episode on its own. Like I said, there's so much shit to for me to say. Um, how can mindfulness or meditation improve mental health? So, mindfulness or meditation can improve mental health because you remove the bullshit out of your life. You stop distracting yourself and you sit in peace. You sit with yourself. You sit with your sensations. You sit with your body. You sit with your mind. And whatever's bothering you is going to come up. Whatever's pressing you is going to come up. And now once you see it and one is in front of you, you can address it. You can change it. You can accept it. You can do whatever it is that you need to do to understand it or to deal with it. That is, I believe, how it works. It also affects you in a way where it slows you down because we're always rushing. Like the other thing is, we're always one thing after another, after another, after another. Especially like I'm trying to fucking cut back on my social media consumption and all that shit because it's just one thing after another, after another. You don't stop. Work, clean the house, fucking deal with the kids, do this, do that, bills, fucking still got to deal with all the responsibilities of everything, and you never slow down. So by slowing down, you give your mind a break in the middle of the day or whenever you meditate to slow down and kind of like catch up and be at peace. So then that gives you feelings um of relaxation, of sensation, of being more at ease, and then that lets you deal with life in a more logical, more peaceful, more accepting way, you know. But there is people, and I also want to continue to meditate more, that say that that's the key to peace, and that's the key to life. Being a peaceful, happier life is meditation. And I know people that do that for like weeks at a time, when they just go on retreats where you just meditate.
Yeah.
Cool.
It it's something that helps you be grounded, especially in the world that we like live in. It is like a lot of, like you mentioned, go 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 go. So it stops us from being present.
Yeah.
And that's what meditation does. It brings you to right here, right now. Um, and that definitely aids with having like a clearer mind.
Mm-hmm. Next
Hmm.
one is, how can I create a self care routine that supports my mental health?
Mm,
I'm gonna do it, or I do
I genuinely don't have a mental health routine.
it.
You can do it.
Well, that's what you think, but you run. You're doing a big part of it, right? Like that's a big shit of your mental health. You might not see it as a routine, but that's one thing you do, the exercise that you've been doing continuously for a while, that
That is,
affects how you feel. Um, how
yes.
can, but the question wasn't whether we were doing it or not. It's how do you create it, right? So ideally, what you want to do is sleep first. Sleep,
No.
fucking get good sleep. That's the very
No,
first thing you can do. I can 100% tell you that I get depressed as soon as I don't fucking sleep good for a few days. Like I fucking just get on this shitty fucking mood, and I'm just like not wanting to do shit and just feeling super like down and lethargic and shit. And then that is my signal to be like, "Oh, you need to go to sleep because you're feeling like this again." So the routine ideally should be for you to get good sleep. I mean, I did listen to a few podcasts on fucking sleep, and I can just tell you, to summarize everything that I fucking learned in that shit: try to get no blue light a couple of hours before sleep. How do you do that? Get some blue light blocking glasses that I have. You've seen me in an episode in the past. I think that's the easiest way to do it, because alternatively you have to get every fucking light and put red bulbs on it, which I think is a pain in the ass. Blue light blocking glasses, um, ideally like 2 to 3 hours before. Your room has to be a little bit colder than you think. 68 degrees ideally has to be that, so that you sleep nice and covered in the blankets, and you don't get hot in your sleep, and you have a better sleep. um and that takes care of the sleep. And you want to get fucking minimum 8 hours, because once again, 8 hours is not actually 8 hours of sleep. If you track your sleep and you sleep for 8 hours, sometimes you end up getting like 6.5. So you want to be in bed maybe 10 hours ideally, depending if you nap or all those things. So yeah, starts with sleep. Then I would say get some good nutrition. Like, you pay attention when you people know, like, we know when we eat shitty how our body feels, and when we eat healthy, how our body feels. Then exercise, right? Exercise. I was just telling my wife yesterday, because I was sick for 2 weeks and I didn't do shit because my body just felt super tired. On top of not getting any sleep, and I just started this week, and I told her what a difference it makes already in how I feel, like emotionally and physically. So get that in there, and then squeeze a little meditation. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you can. And I think that will probably take care of like most of your shit, and then if you're dealing with something that is more heavy, more complicated, that then obviously go to therapy. That'll be the next thing to do, right? Where you squeeze that in once a week, whenever you need to. But if you sleep well, you eat well, you exercise, most of the problems, you're going to be able to approach them in a more healthy way, in a more peaceful way, and then you're going to be able to deal with them more healthy. And then if there's something that you want to improve on, something overwhelming, then you have to go to therapy. No matter how much fucking times you exercise and how much sleep you get, um, you're not going to be able to fix those kind of more complicated or um, underlying issues that you may have.
Yeah, that is very true. I'm sure you can tell even by just my demeanor today. Um, I did not sleep. I've been awake since like 1 or 2, and that's been just one night, and I am dying right now. Like, even just to like be fully present here, like I'm
Mhm.
noticing myself dozing off and getting distracted. So yes, food, sleep, movement,
Mhm.
very important.
Good. The next one is, how does social media impact mental health?
Quiero llorar, güey, ya, güey, ya. Güey.
um, I think it does it because of the constant what is it, that thing, the constant fucking dopamine, constant dopamine hit that is not healthy for us to be doing all that. I
Yeah.
think it's bad in the way of the addiction to drama that we have. um
Hmm.
I think it removes us away from the connections that we built naturally in the past before social media was a thing. um so less connections with other humans in your household, less connection with humans overall, because you just spend the time in the phone that you would naturally be doing, spending and doing something else. Um, and all the just all the negative shit that's out there to be able to put in your face constantly. Like, one thing that I did a while years ago, I stopped following like grind phase and world star hip hop and all that shit, because I'm like, what the fuck am I getting out of this? And then I started following a few pages like Good News Movement or the Good News Network, or some shit that would be like, sprinkle in some good news in here to make it like more well-rounded, instead of such a negative shit where you just see all the bad things and all that. um so all of that is a combination of all those things, and it definitely should be more limited and more mindful of how much time we spend on it. There are a lot of beautiful things, right? We're able to be our own news network in social media. We're able to share all that. Like we don't have to have a news network to tell us what the fuck's going on. We can just share what happens in our lives. So that's the beautiful things about it. But um, I think the worst is the lack of connection, and then the how we're all fucking or most of us are addicted to the drama and the negative shit of it, and how that's impacting us, and also the fact that it can shape those fucking algorithms can shape how we think and how we feel, and we can get persuaded into something if we're not careful. We can just fall on the fucking track and we start moving little by little into this way of thinking that it leads us into it if we're not careful, if we're not aware of where it's taking us.
Yeah, absolutely. With this client specifically that I'm telling you about, that they were like, what the fuck, like, what do I do? That's one of the things that they mentioned, like everything that I see on TikTok is like disasters and this and that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
change the motherfucking algorithm, like start looking at things that are helpful. And I'm like, I'm not telling you to not be informed, I'm not telling you to not be aware of what's going on, but that cannot be everything you consume. Like that, like you're not gonna make it out alive, hon. Like that's gonna fuck you over. So 100%.
Mm-hmm.
um Follow pages that do tell you all the atrocities that are going on in the world, and also follow pages that give you good news that are going on around the world. Because yes, there is a lot of shit going on, um, problematic shit, and there are a lot of good things happening. Like I follow a local organization here in Vegas. They're called the Fifth Sun Project, and they do like domestic violence awareness walks. They feed they on house like on Sundays. They do self defense workshops. They like there are so many things that they're doing out in the community, and that helps me because sometimes I like what are their workshops. So I feel like okay, people that are passionate about what I'm passionate about. Um, we can connect and we can learn from each other, we can help each other out, and that is like okay, there's a little bit of hope. There's these are my people. So so do that too, get involved, build a community, um, see how you can help at the micro level that can like help, that can like trickle up to the macro level.
Mm-hmm. You're on the roll today with the next questions that I have queued up here. What are the
Ooh,
benefits of community and connection for mental health?
yes, community, 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 community.
Makes a world of a difference.
So much. I don't know if I've talked to you about this. There has been research around. Um, I need to look for it. I to give you the evidence, but so they they would put humans to complete a difficult task like climbing a mountain, um, and they'll measure like their activity with whatever technology, and they would measure the amount of energy it would take to do that hard task, like climbing a mountain, by themselves or with another human. And the human didn't have to be, the support human didn't have to complete the task, they just needed to be there. And to do it with a human, it took like the equivalent of like 1 gallon of gas.
Mm-hmm.
That is, the support human didn't have to do anything. And anyway, I'll give you a little bit more on that. To do it by yourself, it takes about 6 to 10 gallons of gas. So the amount of energy that it takes to process to do something difficult by yourself is going to take you 10 times more energy than if you do it with somebody else, somebody that's just there, not even helping you with the task. And they've also done that. They've also researched, what about if like I don't have access to a human right now, but even if you think about a human that it's safe for you, it has similar effects. So that is the importance of like community. um, so that you can go in, and sometimes just them being there with you of for example, my grandma, within the last month, she has been in and out of the hospital. um, and my support system has been checking in on me, like, hey, how's your grandma, how are you doing, right? Like, thank you to you and Celia, by the way, for doing that. um, there's nothing you can do. It's not like you can come and know, figure out what's going on with my grandma. It's not like you can come and like stay at the hospital with my grandma. Like, it's not, those things are not possible. And even like physical present, like most of my important connections are out of the city. And still, those check-ins, those conversations, being able to talk about it, knowing that I have a whole community of people really, really, really helps. Yesterday I was having a really difficult day, and I was at the hospital, and I went to their little quiet room or chapel. And I just broke down. Like, I just broke down, like, so bad. And I was just feeling angry, frustrated, sad, helpless. And I was just like bawling my eyes out. And in that moment, there was a second, because there was nobody around, that I felt like alone, of like, there's like no one to show up for me right now. And then I had to remind myself, I'm like, no, hold on, hold on. Even if somebody's not here physically with you, you have people. And I went through my list of like humans. I'm like, okay, what would Steve say? What would Celia say? What would Nicole say? What would Lital say? What would Esteban say? Right? Like, I just went down to like my list of people of like, what would they do right now if they were here? What would they say right now if they were here? Be like, they'll tell you that you got this. Like, let me know if you need anything. I would get hugs, right? And I just closed my eyes, and just thinking about that, I just felt this like, I kid you not, I was just like, like literally like bawling. And then that happened, and my body just went like, okay, I'm gonna be okay. And I was by myself. I was by myself, but just summoning, like, I'm gonna summon all of my fucking support system, my community, and all of you showed up for me yesterday without you having to do anything in that moment. It has been built, a relationship that has been built, but that is the importance of community. Yes. I also forgot Steven. He also called me yesterday, so Steven. And if I forgot to mention other people, I'm sorry. But yes, it is crucial that you that you have somebody to give you like an outside perspective. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in our shit that's like, we get so overwhelmed, so engulfed with things. We're like, this is not going to get better. This is not going to change. And then you bring somebody from the outside, and they're like, hey, but what about this? But what about that? Have you considered this? And that could also help you to expand your view. Long answer,
Yep,
sorry.
agree 100%. It goes, once again, some shit to talk about in the other question of environmental factors, because I think by design we're meant to be separated and left alone and shit. But yes, 100% is probably, well, I'm gonna put it to like this. I think is the most important thing I've ever done, because I would say when I was feeling like shit, my therapist became part of my community. The people in the group class became part of my community within mental health. Then my wife, obviously, because I was talking to her all the time about my struggles and what I was going with. Then my friend, my compadre, then talking, and now having you, Celia, my compadre, my brother, um, my comadre, to kind of be available, to know that these people I can talk to, and then they'll give me something back. They'll be there for me. They'll understand me because they have the awareness of what the fuck is going on. Makes all the difference to know that you're not alone in dealing with something. I feel comfortable enough with them, or with you guys, reaching out and saying this, I'm struggling with this. there's an issue with this, there's a problem with this, and to know that I can count on you guys has made the whole world of a difference, right?
Mhm.
And being able to deal with it, because then the opposite was what got me to my struggles of not sharing anything that I was going through with anybody, because I didn't even know what it was, but not talking about, not sharing all those struggles, so definitely one of the most important things you can do, um, to have a community. How can I
Yes.
improve my relationship with myself? Give yourself love, motherfucker. Oh,
Yeah,
it's gonna be almost the same thing, right? Go to therapy, figure out your shit. You're gonna learn how to be kinder. You're gonna, first of all, I think I'm speaking 100% for myself. You're gonna learn how shitty you were taught to talk to yourself and be an asshole to yourself, right? Like how that was like a thing that you learned. You're gonna unlearn it. You're gonna give yourself more love, more understanding, more acceptance, more fucking empathy. And that's how you're gonna improve the relationship with yourself, with your mental health for yourself. Right? Like all these things you have to unlearn and all these things you have to learn to be able to guide you into the right path, not the path of that the environment again, our parents, society, whatever the fuck I mean, could fucked it up and guide us and taught us the wrong way. Like that's all the things that we have to go again and improve that relationship, because a lot of it, like I said, is you were not uh validated, accepted, and you were pushed in the wrong way to not deal with the issues in life and yourself, your emotions and all that, and all the negative self-talk that was taught for you to give to yourself and being so hard on yourself.
Yeah. I say start challenging all of those, the negative voice inside you. Um, See if you have any behaviors that maybe mm, don't allow you to maybe put yourself first. That doesn't mean that you send everybody else to fuck themselves, um, but prioritizing yourself. It's something that I'm learning that I still need to work on. Um, but but yeah, look at like how do I, and it could be something simple as like how do I even feel about my body. I don't think we people just go through life bashing their bodies like it's nothing. They don't even become aware of it, right? Like oh, comments that may not seem big, but things such as like, well, it's because you are skinny. Oh, well, is it for you because you're light skinned? Well, is it for you because you have the green eyes? So automatically there we are, if I think you're more beautiful because you have light skin, then that inherently right there, like I'm talking shit about myself because I'm dark. If I think green eyes are better, so then I don't have green eyes, so then I'm talking shit about myself. So really, how do you feel about your body? Like what are some of the wars that you're fighting with it? Um, Start there, because many times like that's the only body we're gonna get for your whole fucking life. You don't want to be at war with it. Um, so that's one way that you can improve it. Yes, go to therapy so you can start looking at that inner critic, that you have, and surround yourself with people that will be accepting of you, because sometimes we do self-sabotage by surrounding ourselves with shitty people that come and confirm our bias of ourselves. Of if I have this thing of like I don't deserve love, so I'm gonna go and find people that show me that I in fact don't deserve love, that are not gonna show up for me. So please look for your community that will hype you the fuck up.
Hmm. Yes, ma'am. What should I expect during the process of healing?
Pain. A lot of pain. A lot of motherfucking pain.
Yeah. I
There's
was I was talking to my wife a few weeks ago, and I forget right now what the topic was, but then she asked me a question. She said, I need your attention. She asked me something, and I was like, yeah, that's how it is. This, and that. And you're right about that. And then she was like, oh, it was much more deeper than how I'm making it sound. But then she was like, oh, and then she just sat there for a little bit and she was like, I feel weird. She's like, I feel relieved, but scared and like in pain at the same time. And I was like, yeah, that's what it feels like. Like you feel like you understand it, you feel like you got it, but somehow it's scary because you're now becoming a new version of yourself and you also feel pain, you know? So it's like a whole bunch of shit at the same time. Um that's that's what you can expect during the process, and that's why so many people shy away from it. But a little bit behind the scenes, what the plan for that episode was is what is the beauty on the other side, right? So on the other side is all the this, it's like you have to eat shit to get to the good part. You have to go through there's people however many race it. You have to walk through fucking hell to get to heaven. There's also the thing that I love, like the tree has to go deep in the roots to be able to go as high as it needs to go. Like you have to go through the struggles to be able to have the peace, right? Not the pretend peace that you tell yourself or that we tell ourselves in the regular, but actual peace. It's very hard and it's painful. There's a lot of tears, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of shit, but
Mhm.
it's 1000% worth it. And I'm very thankful for all of it. I
Yeah.
just have to, what makes sense to me now when I'm going through some healing and some heavy fucking times is like, oh, good. You're struggling with something, be okay with it and be fine with it, because you know what that means. You know that the beauty on the other side is going to be worth it, you know. So I might not understand it now, but I like, that's what the awareness that I have, that's like, this is so heavy, this is thing, oh shit, good. That means something I have to figure out. Yes, it's painful right now, but okay, I know what this thing is, has a purpose. There's a reason why I'm struggling with this, and if I help and I deal with it
You
properly
get
and address it,
excited
there's going
about
to be
it.
such beauty on the other side. Huh?
You get excited about it.
Yeah.
I don't.
Because I catch myself saying like, this fucking sucks, but this is showing me something. There's the outcome of this is gonna be so worth it. I might not, I have to be okay with the negative to be okay with the positive. I can't just not be like, oh, I don't want to I don't want to experience the bad stuff. Like, no, this bad stuff here, this pain, this suffering, it's here to teach me something and show me something. But it's the ability, I would say, not even to get excited, but to take a step back and look at where I'm at in the cycle, right? Look at where I'm at. Like, okay, I'm struggling with something. Okay, cool. You've been here before. You struggle with some shit. You know what the process is. You're gonna figure it out eventually. You're gonna understand yourself. You're gonna accept it. You're gonna change something, whatever that this may need, and then you're gonna be good. And that good is gonna feel so fucking good once you figure out that it's like, okay, cool. This is where I'm at in the cycle, and I'll accept it. That I'm in the painful part of the healing process.
That's so interesting. This is, I guess, this will be a good um place to highlight what
Mhm.
healing looks like for different people.
Mm.
Um, the pain is still there, right? Like yesterday. Yesterday, I was, um, and this has been something that I've been noticing lately, and maybe that is the teaching of my grandma being at the hospital. I don't know, but how I overextend myself a lot for people. So then I leave myself. I abandon myself in the process. I'm still trying to figure out how to do it differently, because not showing up for people that I care about is not an option for me. It's not an option. I just need to better balance balance that out, but I'm not there yet. So I'm struggling with that. Yesterday, when I told you, like, I broke down, like, I felt like really, really tired. Like, I recognized that I was overextending myself. But in that moment, and I called a friend. Now, when I was at the quiet room, it was like, it was after I called my friend, and I'm telling him what I'm struggling with too, a little bit of like with spending time with my ex in-laws. Obviously, like, my wound got removed, not removed, got moved, and so then I'm telling him, like, fuck, like, I really wish things were different, and I didn't have to be in this position, blah blah blah. So I'm processing this in my head as I'm hurting with my friend, and he immediately went to very well-intentioned place, but he immediately went into, like, look at what this thing is teaching you, look at, like, the lesson, look at like the aftermath, right? And I got so upset when he was telling me that. I was so upset. Like, I don't give a fuck what the lesson is right now. I don't give a fuck what the teaching is. I don't care right now. Like, right now I'm in pain, and I don't want to be in pain. It's uncomfortable. Like, yeah, I know it's one thing that I have been able to recognize. Like, I know it's temporary. Like, I know it's not going to last forever. And still, right now, when I'm in pain, I don't want to be in pain. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't fucking like it. I hate it. So both of those instances where I am in pain, just yesterday was just like a shitty day. Like, overall, I like struggle, like, even like running. Yesterday was Wednesday. I said run on Wednesdays, and I don't want to go to a run club. My mom's like, you gotta go, bitch. Like, you have to go. And I was like, fine, I'll go. So I'm going, and I'm like, my body feels heavy, and I don't like that sensation. I don't like being uncomfortable. I don't fucking like it. I wanted to stop. I wanted to fucking stop and be like, when I started, I was like, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna go home. Because I feel like shit. I feel like shit. I don't want to do this. Thank God for Elizabeth. Shout out to Elizabeth from my run club. She's like, Norma, you got this. You got this. And I'm like, I don't want to do it today, Elizabeth. And she's like, I'll stay with you. I'll stay with you, but don't stop. We got this. And I'm just like, I'm like, literally, like, my face is just like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to do this. And like, I stopped a couple of times. Like, that's how heavy it felt. Like, I had to stop and just say, like, I don't want this right now. I don't want this right now. I want this to stop. Like, I don't fucking like it. I don't like it. I'll get through it. Because I fucking finished my run. And at some point I was just like, all right, bitch, you're gonna fucking do it. Calm the fuck on. Get your shit together. You gotta fucking run. I'm like, fuck. And I was so angry. And I used that anger to be like, okay, fine, I'll run. So I'll get through it, and I'll eventually get to the lesson. But while I'm in it, I don't want to be in it. I don't want to. I don't like it. I don't like experiencing it. I hate it. I fucking hate it. I know it's necessary and I appreciate it, but I don't like it. No.
I'm gonna say one word that is gonna remind you, or reminds me of all the shit that I need to remember in this thing.
I'm probably not gonna like it, but fine.
You already know what it is.
I don't.
You know what this made me realize, instead of telling you the word, how much Pablo's influence in my life affects me to this moment. Accept it. I fucking accept it. Accept it. Whether you want it or not, it's gonna happen. And the experience that you give yourself by fucking not wanting it is what makes it so much fucking more terrible. Because I like, even look, I did this again a few days ago whenever I was feeling fucking, like, I literally felt like I was already entering like a depression. Like, it's been like 4 or 5 days where I just wake up and I feel shitty, and like, I'm like, what's the point of anything and shit like that. And then I caught myself and be like, okay, fucker, you're feeling like shit. Cool. It's part of life. You gotta enjoy the rides. The up and downs of fucking life. This shit's not gonna last forever. Why are you pushing and being selfish and not wanting to feel like this? It's all normal. It's all part of life. You're gonna feel ups and downs and shit. Just go with it and it's fine. Being able to do that for me releases all the struggle because my fucking battle is I don't want to feel like this anymore. Why am I feeling like this? This fucking sucks. Why don't I do like this? And by just saying, hey, it's a normal roller coaster. You have to go with the good. You have to enjoy the good, and you have to learn to love the shitty times as well because they're gonna be there regardless of that. And that, like, as soon as I have that awareness, and that makes sense, and that clicks in my mind, and I'm able to take a step back, it makes it go away. I don't struggle with it anymore. I don't fucking fight it anymore. It's just like, okay, I'm feeling like this. Cool. That's what I'm feeling.
Okay.
Because the actual struggle within yourself is the fact that you don't want to feel it anymore. So
I
now
don't
not only and you're angry, and then you're adding a fucking shit ton of pressure to yourself to wanting to remove the feeling that your body wants to and needs to have. And then you're like, no, fuck you, fuck off. I don't want to feel you. I want this to be done with already. Why do I have to feel like this? Why is this so painful? Why is this shit? You're making it like you're adding a shit that makes it way worse.
Maybe. I mean, I go through it. I feel it. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
But that's the thing. Like, learn that it's normal.
I know
And
that it's
take-
normal.
and take a-
I know
but
that it's normal, but I don't like feeling it. I just don't like it. It's uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
I haven't learned to. I think I've accepted it because, like, yesterday I woke up and I told my mother-in-law, and I was like, I'm angry today. So I'm able to recognize when I'm not okay, when I'm struggling. He said, I'm angry today. And at some point I told myself, like, oh shit, we need to feel this. We need to cry it out. We need to go through it. So I'm able to do that. When I'm in it, it's uncomfortable for me. I have a very hard time maybe accepting that discomfort because I'm like, I don't fucking like it. I get it. It's temporary. I know it's not going to be forever. It's okay for me to feel that way because I do tell myself all of those things. And still I'm like, I don't like being here. I don't like being here. Just as much as I hate training, like I love the races that I do because I like run. I love the races. I love them. I love them. I love them. I hate the training with a motherfucking passion. I know it's part of it. Blah, 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 blah. And I have to go through it. But I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I'll go through it. Like I said, I'll go through it. But it's just like, I don't know.
It still will be the same shit. You know, the lack of acceptance gives you a suffering. So
whatever.
At some point, yeah, at some point, you have to learn to be okay with it and just be like that.
Am I
Because
allowed
I'm
to?
telling you, I feel
Mhm.
this. I feel the same thing as you. By the way, it's not like I'm struggling and I'm like, oh, this is a lesson in the shit. No, it takes me a while to catch myself and then have that fucking thought and be like, well, why are you pushing it away? Accept it. Because remember, this
This the thing.
series.
I don't push it away. I want to be clear. I don't push it away. I don't push it away. Just when I'm in it, I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, I'm passionate about this because this is what healed me at the end of the day. Accepting and being okay with whatever the fuck I was feeling, as hard as it was and as tough as it was the thing that got me out of that shit. To be like, because my thing was like, I don't want to feel it. I don't like it. Get rid of this shit. What the fuck can I do to stop this fucking thing? This sucks. This is painful. This is terrible. How do I do that shit? And when I learned to just
I'm not trying to get out of it. Okay.
No, I get you. But like, I guess what I'm saying is just having that, I have that moment that gets me out of that thought pattern or those behaviors or whatever, where I'm able to take a step back. And then take a step back and I remember. And for me, it brings me peace to be like, oh, it's part of a cycle. You're in this cycle of shit. Be okay with feeling the downs as good as you feel the ups, and don't be selfish and wanting to feel happy all the time. It's normal, the shit. For me, that does it. Like, that literally just takes me out of it. And then I'm like, okay,
Okay.
I'll feel it. I'll be fine. It'll be the next thing. I'm part of a cycle, and this some lesson, something is gonna come out of this, and I'll be okay for it. So the reminder, I guess, that I'm in a specific step of the cycle detaches my emotion, my hardcore emotion of what I'm feeling, and reminds me of that. I'm able to take a step back and detach from it, and realize this is where I'm at. You get me? Like I'm not so stupid caught up emotionally in the moment anymore when I say, okay, I take a step back, I analyze the situation. I'm like, okay, you're in this step of the fucking healing cycle. Something's gonna come from it. Enjoy the good and the bad. You're not gonna feel like this at times, like, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. This is what's happening. Cool. Like I step away from the emotion, and then I'm looking at the issue from an outside perspective that allows me to just have peace. Like
Yeah, that's right.
that's a I've
Oh,
heard that
sorry.
actually. I'm kind of proud of myself for thinking about that way because I've heard that multiple times, and once again, it's making sense in my head of being the observer, not being part of it.
Hard time doing that. A very
Yeah,
hard time doing it.
yeah. I've heard
I
that. I
don't.
just connected that right now.
I don't. I have a very hard time doing that. I don't. Maybe again, maybe that's your autistic ass, but I have a very hard time removing myself from it, like accessing my prefrontal cortex when I am in my limbic system is very hard for me. In that moment, I'm just like, why do I feel like this? And then I cry and I'm like, we'll be okay. This is hard, but we'll be okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But while I'm in it, I'm just like, get me out of here. So I can't necessarily do that yet, of like having that moment of like identifying like, oh, I'm in the suffering part of the cycle, going through it, and I'll be okay. I don't do that. I'm
Mhm.
just like, I feel like shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's interesting too, because like I was telling you something that I think didn't have always. Then it's something that I learned because now I have that. I'm able to do that constantly now with most situations in life, and that is what I think has created much more peace for myself, to be able to like take a step back and be like, oh, and just observe and be like, take a step back and be like, wait a minute, what the fuck is happening? Like I told you the last time we didn't record it and we still haven't talked about it, but I felt anger at a situation out of nowhere. And then I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Why are you angry? And then I was like, oh shit, it's your fucking ego. It's always been your ego. And that's why you're fucking angry at this shit. And this is so painful for the shit. And it happened just by me paying attention to be like, why am I so angry? Oh shit. Taking a step back and looking at that shit. You know? All right, let's do one more. Let me select one here. I think we kind of talked about this. That's the one for next episode. Oh, the medication one. This is a good one.
Okay.
How does medication support mental health treatment?
Um,
I didn't know that 1 in 4 adults are in some kind of mental health medication in the United States.
1 in 4. Oh wow,
One
that's a
in
lot.
four. I was like, holy shit. 1 in 4. So if you guys didn't know that, 1 in 4 people are taking some kind of mental health medication, antidepressants for anxiety, for whatever it might be. Um, how those work, from my understanding of it, it's back to those little chemicals, those little shit that happens in your brain, right?
Hmm.
They either stop them from triggering as often, or that's pretty much it, though, right? Like they literally just kind of like not make it so that they're or also the other shit was like, or they also trigger something to happen, right? Because sometimes some people don't have those things happening in their brain that then like it either stops something from happening in your brain or it makes it happen so that you're able to feel something. So there's like a chemical imbalance, and that's an attempt at balancing the imbalance. Like that's how they work. Um, I, from what I experienced in therapy and all that stuff, like my therapist and like even the group therapist, and when there was multiples, they always said they believed that to fully heal, the answer was therapy. Um, they said, from what I remember, is like if you need the medicine to be able to function, that's fine. If you can't function and you're struggling, and maybe during the process of therapy you're also taking medicine. But my understanding of it is like it's a Tylenol for your anxiety, for your depression, right? Like it helps you, but it doesn't cure it because you're not actually addressing the underlying issues. Is just something to make you feel better, in the moment or for the meanwhile while you're taking it. One of the things I also heard is like, for example, the ones that stop you from feeling, for example, like that help you with depression, like
Mhm.
also mellow you out everywhere else. So you are not feeling as happy as fucking, you don't feel the other emotions as much as you would. Like it's not like it's just stopping the depression, it stops everything else and you just become kind of like super mellow and like dull and shit like that. And that's the shit that I think about again. We were talking about just now. It's like it's kind of sad for me to think that there's humans that take it to be mellow, but then you're not living life how it's supposed to, and those beautiful spikes of happiness and excitement and sadness and those fucking things along the way is like all normal. But I understand when some of them are overwhelming. Like I don't judge, and I understand fully when you have to take them and when they're necessary. And yes, some people might just actually have a chemical imbalance that there's nothing underlying to it. So those people, it works very well. But for a lot of people, it's just like we talked about before. You can sleep all you want, you can go to the gym all you want, but if you don't address it, you can take the medicine all you want. If you don't address it, then it's not gonna fully heal, and you're always gonna have those issues.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If there is a chemical imbalance, like it can definitely be like help. I mean, I was on medication, a mood stabilizer, before I started my not before I started my mental health journey. When during it, um, because I could not regulate my emotions. Like whenever I would be like really upset, I was just like, whew, like a firecracker. Like it's bad. Some shit that I did was bad. Um, so I took them to like regulate my mood, to be like, all right, bitch, like don't go overboard. Um, and they helped. They helped for a while for sure. Um, but I had therapy alongside it, like because it was my goal was to like, okay, give me a band-aid so that I can figure my shit out so I can like leave the meds. Um, and through therapy, I've learned to better handle my emotions. I don't explode as much. Um, my emotions are still very intense. Like if I'm angry, like I'm angry. Like yesterday, I was really angry at the doctor, and as I'm talking to them, like I was shaking. My whole body was shaking when I was talking to them. So like for those moments, like, but I'm, but the behavior, my emotions, I still feel very intensely, but the behaviors that come with it are not as big. Um,
Same.
so when I was talking to them and I'm able to articulate too how I'm feeling. Before I would just like poof, go off, but now I'm able to say, and I told them like as soon as they got there, and I'm like, just so you know, I'm really angry at you right now. I'm very unhappy with how things have been handled with my grandmother. And they were just like, okay. And like I talk a lot with my hands. But I like that anger allowed me to advocate for my grandma, right? So now I'm able to be collected enough to where like those emotions I allow myself to feel them, but I don't take it overboard. Like I don't know, had this interaction happen 2019, 2020, I would have probably been arrested by screaming at these doctors. But
Sounds fun.
yesterday,
I would want to see that. Part of me is like, oh, that's interesting. I want to see what your crazy ass would have been back in the day.
oh my God, no. I've hurt a lot of people in the process, and I don't want to do that anymore.
True.
But I would tell I told my psychiatrist when, like, after, like, okay, like, I've been in therapy for a while, like, I think I can, like, do without, and my doctor was like, no, and I'm like, no, I want to, I want to get off it. This was never a long-term thing for me. And they're like, well, like, a lot of things can come from that, blah. And I'm like, I understand. I'm willing to take the risk. Worst comes to worst, I'll go back on them, but I want to try without medication. I've been without medication since 2021. And I've been okay because I've actually gone to therapy. Like, I genuinely believe that my brain chemistry is different from back then. So if you need them, huh?
The neuroplasticity.
Yes. So if you need them because of chemical imbalance, and that's just gonna be for the rest of your life, that's okay. If you are using them as a way to not deal with your shit, I strongly suggest you deal with your shit so you don't have to medicate it forever.
And even then, the fucking doctors will just give you the medicine without even giving you a second thought, without whatever, right? It's just about medicating you. So, like, for example, once again, most people know the story, but if you're a new listener, I fucking called. They said, oh, I can put you on fucking antidepressants right away. And I was like, wait a minute, bitch. I want therapy.
Right now.
Like, I want therapy. And they're like, okay, we'll see you in a month and a half then, fucker. Deal with it alone. But yeah, there's some good and bad things, like everything, to the medicine. But yeah, maybe we should at some point maybe bring somebody or talk about that topic specifically, right, in more on detail about how it works and everything.
About medication?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, guys. That was that episode. mindfulpodcastliving@gmail.com. If you have any questions, any concerns, any comments, you want to be a guest, you want to tell us how much you love us, please tell us. We love the feedback. We appreciate it. And yeah, you gotta remember, you gotta let go, you gotta accept it in order to grow. Accept it. She flipped me off in case people are just listening. All right, peace.
Bye.